Hey, what's going on, everybody? Matt Holmes here, bodysynergytraining.com, and another Feature Friday interview for you guys. This week, I'm excited. I got a powerlifter, Brandon Lilly, on for you guys. I've been really excited for this. Brandon's an awesome guy. The Cube method, which he invented, is amazing. I know a lot of people love it. He's really well known, an awesome motivator within the sport. You know, I like him because he's no bullshit guy, straight to the point, strong, just be a fucking beast and work out and be the best you can be. So I'm excited for it, and I know you guys will get a lot from this. So thanks a lot, Brandon, for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for asking, to have me on and stuff. It's a good opportunity to get to talk to a wider audience than I'm usually talking to. I think it's a good chance for me to get some ideas out there and, to share some ideas with, like I said, more people. So.
Yeah, that's one of the greatest things. I always talk weekly to people about how awesome the internet is because of what we can do now. You can release e-products, you got the Cube method, many people out there on that, and then these videos and training people all over the world. They're just talking to people. It's things you couldn't do before, and it does help the sport now within powerlifting or just fitness in general has gotten a lot bigger due to the internet. So, but yeah, again, I appreciate it because I know you're a busy guy. With that being said, as I told you before the call, I wanted to leave it up to you to kind of introduce those that don't know you, more of your background, how you got into training, how you got into powerlifting. I know you had your injuries recently and now you're back into it. And, we'll start off from there.
All right. Just to give you a simple background, like most people, I started training just through a gym class, and I was terrible, absolutely terrible. And actually the first time I was about 16, 17, I started trying to do a bench press and a squat. And I was so bad that with the squat of 135, I fell straight to the ground. I mean, it just collapsed me. I was about 165 pounds. And in contrast to what I was when I was injured at my last competition, at about 335 pounds. So, I kind of had those humble beginnings, and people talk about genetics and all this and everything. And what I say to that is you can't analyze someone's genetics until it's a finished product. You know what I mean? Because at 17 years old, I had horrible genetics, if you were looking at me as a weightlifter. And then at 30 years old, they're like, oh, wow, this guy's really built to be a weightlifter, or a power lifter. But anyway, I had a coach pull me aside one day. I'd started getting a little bit of trouble at school, basically from boredom. I had transferred schools to pursue a soccer scholarship. And because I transferred within the same district but didn't move residence, they ruled me ineligible to play sports because of recruiting laws and whatnot. So you take a kid that had been going 100 miles an hour playing soccer, trying to get a scholarship, take away the one thing that he really cares about, and you got a bored kid who started getting in trouble, like I said. And I had a coach named Travis Lynch. He worked with the football team. He just encouraged me to come in and train with him one day. And I remember going in and we were doing like one of those, it's like a Chuck Norris total gym type things. And I just remember getting on the thing and I was doing some kind of like a chest press or a fly more or less with those cables. And I just went and went and went. And next thing I know, I got tears pouring down my face, and it was like, I was so mad and so frustrated. And I just needed a release. So there was an immediate connection with the gym, like day one. So that led into an introduction to some other guys at another gym in town. And it was a great gym. It was just kind of like I would call it just a prison style gym. I mean, everybody there was just working out hard. They were strong. They were older. And their general attitude towards me was they didn't care what I was doing as long as I was doing it all out. And that was the way everybody there trained. And, in a town of 10,000 people, in a gym of about 40 people, and most of the guys are benching over 400, they're squatting over 500 or 600, pulling in the 500 and 600s, to a kid my age, 17, 18 years old at about 175 pounds, these guys look like Mr. Olympia to me, But that led into an introduction to a powerlifting team where I was introduced to some training styles and things and started competing raw. And that graduated into meeting some guys who trained the West Side system. And I pursued the West Side system for about 10 years, ultimately gaining an invite to West Side Barbell through Louis Simmons. I trained there for a year, and then I switched to Lexington Extreme, which is in Grove City, Ohio. Trained with Chuck Vogelpohl there, and that was one of the big highlights for me. Is not many people will ever get to say they did both.
Yeah.
And then while I was training at Lexington, I just kind of lost. I lost the drive for multiply powerlifting, not because I don't like it. I think it's really cool, but what I was finding was that I was training 10 to 12 weeks for a cycle to peak, having a great training cycle, and it wasn't carrying over to the platform. So that's when I needed a change in direction. I took the gear off with the intention of just doing a training cycle raw, just to try to get some confidence back. And there was a meet coming up, and so I was like, well, I'll just jump in this meet raw and do it. So I jumped in the meet. I totaled 2105, 2,105 pounds raw. It was 800 squat, a 540 bench, and a 765 deadlift. And I did that in my first meet out, and 2105 at 308 is pretty big. It's top 20 all time. So I was like, hey, this is a pretty good thing I'm doing here. So let's stick with this. So I competed again a few months later, totaled 2138. And then the very next week, 6 days later, I totaled 2204. I jumped a weight class. I really bloated up, kind of loaded my system, and totaled 2204, which made me one of, at that time, 18 men to ever total 2,200 pounds. And then without ever training in my gear at all, for 10 months, I returned to multiply. Had no idea if my gear would fit, nothing. And this was the day after I pulled in the animal cage. So I deadlifted to a maximum in the animal cage at the Arnold. And the very next day on a Saturday, I competed in multiply gear that I hadn't touched in 10 months, and ended up hitting a career best total of 2612, which was a 1,008 squat, 832 bench, and 772 deadlift. So, or 771 deadlift, and the kilos kind of rounded out to 2612. But yeah, so that was kind of like the crescendo of everything, because it's like, wow, this guy's not training his gear and he hits this big total. So I was just trying to put myself out there and say, look, all this gear training is great, but if you're not strong raw, what's it matter? And that kind of went against the grain in a lot of ways. I think it upset a lot of people, but that wasn't my intention. That was just, my intention was just to say, hey, that's fine what you're doing, but there's also another way. You know what I mean? And that's all I wanted to do, was to support my beliefs. If I'd fallen on my face, there'd have been a lot of people laughing, and pointing the finger saying, well, look at this idiot. But in reality, hopefully I showed people that, you can do different things. Fast forward to last fall, I totaled 2237, which was 12th all time raw. And then right after that, I went back to Australia and competed no knee wraps and totaled 2110. So my best totals are a 2110 no knee wraps, belt only, 2237 belt and knee wraps, and then 2612 multiply gear. And then I hurt myself January 26th. I blew out both knees. Just now getting back to riding a stationary bike, and I was cleared to do some leg press. So I'm doing about 135 pounds for 1,000,000 reps, because I can't go up in weight. So I just do as many reps as I can possibly do. But the one thing that I do know, if I can leg press, eventually I'll be able to squat. So, a lot of people said, oh, he's done. He's never going to be able to come back from this. Well, I may not come back to the same level that I was. I may come back better. But the reality is I'm not going to stop. I'm going to come back in whatever capacity that I can, and live to the best potential that I have. The doctors told me that they put me back together better than I was built when I was born. So the reality of it is, and I've talked to other lifters like Ed Cohen, He had a very traumatic knee injury, and he said once you're healed, you just got to believe that you're healed and return to your training as such. Don't have the fear, just go all out. And I'm not, surprisingly, I'm not afraid. I'm so eager to get back. My biggest problem is going to be pulling back the reins, and not allowing myself to do something that sets me backwards. I'm very dedicated to getting back the best that I can. But it's like I said, doing 135 for so many reps when all I want to do is put another plate on there. It's just it's maddening right now. But again, when I got back in the gym and they told me I could leg press, I had that same reaction. Like I just started going until the tears started coming. You know what I mean? It was like, because when it first happened, I didn't really know if I would ever be able to do it again, and they weren't confident that I would ever be able to walk properly, let alone lift. So to have that opportunity again, I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's definitely, was something I wanted to bring up, and I knew you were going to bring up about it. And it's funny how you say with these other people that have been through injuries and have come back, and some might have not have fully reached back to where they were. They're still lifting a lot more than the average person, and then some people have come back even stronger. And I always try and use. It seems like out of any sport, I've noticed with injuries and severe injuries, especially or more so within the powerlifting, with things like that, compared to, some smaller contact sports or semi-contact sports or any other basically professional sport out there. It seems like powerlifters are the ones that I've heard where doctors are like, you'll never be able to bench 135, or or like you said, they didn't know how you were going to be able to walk. And it seems all these powerlifters come back and they basically shut up every medical expert out there that's like, you're never going to be able to do this, this, and this again. And it kind of really shows the mental aspect of a lot of that, like you're saying, or like what Ed Cohn told you. Because you hear all the time, I hear people that aren't even, they're just regular Joes out there, and they're like, I had a little bit of a back injury because of this or because of that. And, I can't really lift heavy because of that. And I'm like, really? Like it was an injury. I'm not going to say it's a bullshit injury if they really did have one, but it's nowhere near as severe as like you or all these other people that have had huge, like severe injuries and come back super strong. So it almost shows of like, you can use it as a crutch and to really hold you down forever, or you can say, fuck it and be the best that you can. And you could possibly come back better than you were before. So that's one thing I like with powerlifters.
The thing that here's how I look at powerlifting, and really in how I live my life and look at life. I either look at real world situations, or I look at how an animal would react to a situation. You know what I mean? And that's something that I use a lot in seminars. For example, I'll just give you a quick overview. Like a week or so ago, I was at a seminar, and I always take people through the lifts, and we kind of coach their lifts. And we had this one girl came up and she said, well, I don't want to deadlift today because I deadlifted yesterday. And I said, so, all right, if somebody came up to you and smacked you in the mouth and was attempting to kidnap your child, are you going to say, oh, I'm not going to run after you because I deadlifted yesterday? I'm just too tired. I'm too sore. No, you're going to say, look, I'm going to do whatever I can, fight or flight. I'm going to do exactly what I can to protect my child and get my child back to safety. So I put her on the spot. I didn't want to embarrass her. I wanted to motivate her, and turned around and she ended up pulling a lifetime PR. Even after she missed it the day before, she attempted it and pulled it very easily. She ended up going up 2 more times. So she ended up, I think it was a 25-pound total PR on her deadlift. But the other thing that I look at specifically for myself with this injury, animals don't feel sorry for themselves. They don't wonder why. They don't ask, does God hate me? Why am I being punished and having this terrible injury? They just keep moving. They keep living, because if they don't, they're going to die. They're going to be eaten. And that's what I was thinking about all those times when I was, when I was in the hospital and I just had the surgery. They're like, well, you need to stay off your feet. And I'm thinking, okay, my legs are going to atrophy anyway. So the more I'm off my feet, the more they're going to atrophy. They wanted me to wiggle my toes for the first week. That was it. And by I think it was day 4, I was sliding myself off the bed just to stand. And then I was like wheeling myself like on a walker, wheeling myself around to sit down and then try to pull myself up, and they tell me to wear the braces. I don't always wear the braces. They tell me to do 10 steps. I do 50 steps. It's like I just do the maximum that I can without overdoing it. I kind of know my limit. So I'd always done the absolute most that I can do without going too far, because I think I did go too far at one point because I detached part of the quad tendon and they had to do another surgery. Just from walking, I was kind of trying to walk faster, and my toe caught on the lip of a ledge. And when it did, you just talk about a terrible pain. But, I'm going to fall down. I'm going to have times where it sucks, but it's like I just don't let myself feel sorry for myself. It meant another surgery. It meant a few weeks of setback. I ended up getting an infection after that 3rd surgery, but I wouldn't change anything because as of right now, my right leg's range of motion is perfect. It's 100%. My left leg is about 70%. So when I get that 30% more, it becomes a strength training issue, because I will say this, of all the things, I'm just weak, like I can walk. I don't limp. I get stiffness and soreness, but I can balance myself, so that's the first step. One step means the next step. So, as soon as I can get that range of motion in my left leg, I start strength training again. And that's, for me, the ultimate goal is just to do whatever I can do. And, that's what irritates me with people. I was working with somebody yesterday, and she was having a particularly difficult time getting over the pain of knee wraps, and I wrap pretty tight, I would say very tight. And her goal was to get a rep set, and she's very strong, but she likes singles. She hates reps. So it was more mental than it was physical. And I just kind of chewed her ass a little bit. I told her, I was like, look, you're sitting here bitching about a knee wrap, and I would kill to be under that squat bar. I said, I would do anything to be under that squat bar right now. And you're sitting here bitching about a tight knee wrap. Get the fuck over yourself, And she ended up getting under the bar and hitting a huge PR. It sounds like I'm the master motivator, doesn't it? Like every time I talk, somebody gets a PR. But in reality, most of the times people don't connect with things that way. They don't think, well, what if I had to do this? What if there was no other option but to do this? And that's the way I've always lifted for maximums. Is it's not do or die. It's just do it.
Yeah, and I like that. It's always with everybody, especially we know there's such a huge connection within the weight room or under the bar as there is within real life.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much I've learned about myself and the shit that I've gone through. I understood it more when I was actually into the gym. Like, it made more sense because of the things I overcame within the gym, and then built on that within the real life from there too. So that's one of the best things that I like, and that same through you, that I try and teach to people. Like, why are you complaining? There's
Right.
this out there, there's that out there. Like, for me, when I feel like shit, when I just want to stop and I'm tired, or I'm really kicking my ass doing a bunch of conditioning, or, like, holy shit, I don't know if I'm going to be able to squat. I know I'm going to come down with this bar on my back, but am I going to get back up at one point? Or, oh shit, I want to get another rep and another rep. You got to dig down and have those things. And like you said, sometimes you got to tell people straight to their face. People might say, oh, you're an asshole for saying that. Well, not really, like, because it obviously worked and the person thanks you afterwards. They're not going to be like, oh, I just got a PR, but you're still an asshole. No one's going to say that. But, sometimes that's what people need to hear, are
Right.
those things, because it does motivate you. And like, I try and use some things, like you said, you told her you would kill to be under that bar,
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times, with knowing people within the military that, you know, lost their lives, or the people that are out there. Like, I use that sometimes myself when I'm in there, like, you know what, I'm going to do this, not just for myself, but for the people that can't do it anymore because they don't have a leg, or they paid the ultimate sacrifice. They can't do it anymore. So I'm going to do it. And it gives you that push and that drive, and it kind of takes your mind out of it just to push through it, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, one of the I can't talk too much about it because I'm an emotional guy. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and if I talk about it too much, we'll have an hour of crying. But anyway, there's a special forces unit that I received a letter from, and they were talking about how a lot of times before they would go out in battle or whatnot, they would watch videos that I had posted, and you know, they said that they were kind of living their lifting careers vicariously through me, you know. And it's like, here these guys are in the middle of the worst of the worst. I mean, they're special forces, you know. They're not putting them in some safe base to
Yeah.
you know, patrol Humvees. I mean, these dudes they're doing the shit work, you know. And they take 5 minutes to send me an email and say that what I'm doing is impacting them. You know what I mean? And some of the things that they shared with me were just like, damn, you know, it's like I don't even deserve it. You know, I don't deserve that kind of credit. And you know, I'm a huge military supporter, and just so thankful for what those guys do. But when you get that connection with somebody, and like you said, you know, it's like they can't do this. They don't have the option of doing this. And I'm doing what I'm doing because of them and because of others like them. You know, I definitely relate to that because that's one of my huge motivators is for people that can't. You know, it humbles me a lot, but it also makes me extremely aggressive. You know, it's kind of like Louis Simmons has a saying, you don't go to war to be killed, you go to war to kill. And that's one of the mentalities that those guys have. You know, they're going into battle ready to handle their business. And that's also a mentality that I've adapted when I'm in the gym. I mean, I don't claim to be anybody's friend. I don't claim to be anybody's back scratcher in the gym. I'm not going to be your friend. You know, I'm there to physically pound you in the ground, because if you can pound back, I'm going to get better. You know what I mean? And that's what I strive for. And I mean, AJ actually introduced us. He's a guy like that. You know, he can put in the work, and you don't get to the top of anything without a hell of a lot of pain and a hell of a lot of sacrifice. And guys like AJ understand, especially in powerlifting, there's so much mental side to it. You know, you look at a bar with 500 pounds, I credit anybody that can squat 500 pounds. That's a huge achievement. You look at a bar with 800, 900, 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 pounds on the bar, and you're talking about a whole different spectrum of, well, not only mental strength, but physical strength and just a little bit of crazy. I mean, you really do. You have to have that, you know, it's like preparation meets soul meets strength meets mind meets that little pinch of crazy at the end, you know, because there's nothing that's fun about unracking 1,200 pounds or, you know, 1,000 pounds. There's nothing fun about it. The fun part's when you've racked it back in the rack and you've done it, and then you're celebrating, you know. So to get through that hardship of going down with something so massive and coming back up with it, you know, that's where all the glory lies, is overcoming the impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's, you know, it's one of those things like I can't imagine, you know, you've done it. It's like, for me looking at it, cause squat's always been my weakest, and I'm trying to get it up there more with everything else right now. And it's getting there, but I'm like, I can't even imagine doing, you know, 7, 8, 9, you know, over 1,000. It just seems like, holy shit. Like, that's just a lot of weight. And to me, it doesn't matter. Like, a squat's always heavy. It
Right.
could be, you know, still warming up, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hit a new PR or a max today. And you just keep going heavier and heavier and heavier. And it's, to me, it's the hardest look, because it doesn't, like, yeah, you can pull a deadlift and you're still warm. You're like, oh, okay, that's not bad. Okay, now it's getting a little heavier. To me, a squat is like, fuck, you know, that feels just as heavy as my one rep, you know, like halfway through getting to 50%.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's for me. You know, it's I've never been a standout at any of the lifts. You know, most guys have the one lift that they're known for, but if you look at my numbers, yeah, I mean they're above average. All three of them, the squat, bench, and deadlifts, are above average, but not by much. It's my total that goes beyond, you know, above average, and the total is what sets me apart because I became so focused on becoming as good as I possibly could at all three. I'm like you. I've never had a squat that feels good. I've never liked squatting, but I worked my way up. You know, like I said, I squatted 1,008 in gear. I've squatted 843 with belt and knee wraps, and I've squatted 771 with no knee wraps, so belt only. And I've squatted 740 with no belt, no knee wraps, no nothing, just completely raw. And you know, those things can be overcome, and that's what I tell people. It's like learning how to squat when you hate to squat will make you a better bench presser and a better deadlifter because you'll apply the same principles that you learn in the squat. It's not going to be the same technique. It's not going to be the same feel, but there's going to be some point where the bench and the deadlift don't feel good anymore. You know, they're going to get so heavy that it's hard. And what you learn from getting past those obstacles in the squat are what's going to carry you, you know, through the other times. And that's like you said, you know, the gym has impacted my normal life so much because, man, and you know, I'll use that Rollins quote that's abused and overused a million times: 200 pounds is 200 pounds. Well, in my life, 800 pounds is 800 pounds. You know, and that's the way it is. It's like you figure out ways to get through things. You figure out really how tough you are and how to believe in yourself. And for me, that was the thing when I got injured or whenever I've had anything in my life. You know, it's been, you can get through it. You've just got to keep going. You know, the good thing about life, the world keeps turning. You know, so you just got to realize that whatever the hardship or the bullshit is today, if you're trying to get out of it on a long enough timeline, chances are you probably will. You know, if you're making the right choices. So that's kind of the way I live my life, modeled after the way I train. You know, if something's not working in the gym, I change it. If something's not working in my life, I change it. You know, it's not that big of a revelation, but it works.
Yeah, and you know, just like within life and training, like you're saying, if something's not working, you change it, and knowing that it's not going to happen overnight. It's step by step. 5 pounds is 5 pounds, or one more rep is one more rep than you did 4 weeks ago, or whatever it is. So a lot of people will be like, "Oh, it's like." I had this conversation the other day with a kid, and you know, he was like, "Oh, you know, I thought it'd be more than he benched. You know, his bench from 4 weeks ago to 4 weeks later, it was like it was only like 5 kilos more,
Yeah.
but he did two more reps, or it was something where it was like I forget the numbers exactly. I was looking at him and I broke it down. He was like, "Oh, I thought I'd get more." I'm like, "Well, look, you know,
Yeah.
his squat, he got a huge rep." I was like, "But look, it's like you did two more reps, basically, is what it was than what you did originally when you first started. This was like your max, and you only hit 3. Well, now you hit 5 with it." It's like, I thought
Yeah.
it'd be more. It's like, it's still 2. Like, think if you add that up over a 12-month period, if it's 2 reps, 2 reps, 2 reps, or, you know, you're adding 10 kilos or 5 kilos, that's more than what the average person in the gym is going to get within a year. I was like, that's progress is progress. If you're not, like you said, then you find out, make the small change. And it's like that in life, one step in front of the other. One step, like, you know, coming back, you're not letting it get you. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's just that one small achievement is going to add up to the larger things. There's one improvement every single day after another.
Exactly. Well, you know, that's funny that you say that because I don't know if you've completely read the cube method or if you're just familiar with it, but one of the things I talk about in the cube method, I give everybody 10-week cycle. Okay. You've got 5 10-week cycles in a year. That gives you 2 weeks of vacation, you know, a week to be sick, a week for whatever, but you basically get 5 training cycles in a year. If you hit a 5-pound PR on every single lift for every cycle, that's 15 pounds per cycle total. That's 5 for the squat, 5 for the bench, 5 for the deadlift. That's 75 pounds in a year. You do that for 3 years, that's 300, or I'm sorry, for 4 years, that's 300 pounds on your total, you know, and so many people, especially, we were talking about the internet being a fantastic tool. The internet is also a bastard
Yeah.
because so many people see, hey, such and such gained 50 pounds on this, such and such gained 40 pounds on their squat this cycle. Well, those things can happen when somebody gets critiqued on their technique, when they may change their diet, when everything becomes perfect. I had a guy, no kidding, that last seminar, tremendous squatter, absolutely tremendous squatter, huge legs, huge back, and the dude was stiff legging his deadlifts. So we said, okay, let's change your foot position. Let's have you squat the bar rather than, just imagine you're squatting the bar up. He had immediately, it was a 70-pound deadlift PR just because he was using his legs, and that's not because I'm some great coach. It's just I saw a technique flaw. You know what I mean? But I'm talking about real graduated strength from cycle to cycle, and the thing is, we have become, in this country, we've become so stuck around maximum PRs. We forget all the other kind of PRs that there are. It's always like 5 more pounds on the bar, 5 more pounds on the bar. That's all that matters. So what I argue with people, especially young kids, they'll send me a video. Oh, look, coach, I hit this new PR. Well, it looks like shit. How do you expect to hit the next PR with perfect form if that one looked like shit? Well, you're just being an ass. No, I'm not being an asshole. We're not going to up your training percentages. We're going to keep them exactly the same until you can hit that weight with proper form. You look at the Russians, they're one of the people that I look at a lot, the Bulgarians as well. They almost look like the bar is weightless until they miss. You know what I mean? Their form stays perfect, their speed stays high, and then all of a sudden they miss. Well, it's because they're more dedicated to technique than they are about adding weight to the bar. I know when Andrei Milanichev started out, one of the things he talked about was empty bar training. Like you look at the Chinese, you look at the Russians in weightlifting, when they start kids in the program, they'll have an empty bar for a year, year and a half before they ever graduate to adding plates on the bar. It's all about getting the first form, second form, third form, getting all those things down, those techniques down. And in powerlifting, that's the way it should be. You should be honing your technique every single set, every single rep, but we're so focused on, let me get more weight on the bar. Let me get more weight on the bar. I'll fix technique later. Technique doesn't get easier with massive weight. It gets harder. The weight will break you down. So that's what I tried to preach in the cube method. Undo this pressure or this belief that the PRs are just going to be coming left and right, left and right. Let's don't hit a PR all training cycle. Let's train our ass off and build up to the meet or a mock meet. I have my athletes do mock meets in the gym if someone aren't comfortable to compete. But let's train all 10 weeks as a build, and then get to the meet and express. You know what I mean? Because, for example, a counter to that, and I'm in no way, shape, or form knocking the system. I trained it for 10 years. The West Side system. It's PR. And then what I found for myself, and the reason I stopped training that way, was I was hitting 10 weeks of PRs, going into the meet extremely confident, and then for some reason it wasn't transitioning to the platform. You know what I mean? And that was my issue with the system. You look at a guy like AJ, he had great success with the system. Millions of people have great success with the system. And for some reason I was considered an outlaw because I didn't like it. I was considered the bad guy. But in reality, it was just, some people like apples, some people like oranges. And I trained it for 10 years. It was highly effective for me for a while. And then I just hit a point where it wasn't working and I needed something different. So, that's what I had to do. And, it was either continue down a path where I was just butting my head against the wall or, I can walk 3 feet to the left and go through the door, and that's what I chose to do. And that's what I tell people to do all the time. Cut your expectations down. And one last thing on that, I have kids all the time. Well, I want to gain 40 pounds before a football this fall. Okay, well, 40 pounds in 3 months is probably unlikely unless you get fat as hell. So I give them the scenario. Like I said, when I started training, I've been training for about 13 years. We'll just do 12 years because it's simple math. It's 144 pounds in 12 years. That 1 pound a month. And that's about what I've gained. It was about a pound a month. And I'm not an overly fat guy. I could definitely use a little brush up on the diet here and there. But I mean, I've always tried to maintain that I look like I lift weights, So one of the things is you got to get people to understand weight on the bar is going to come hard, and weight on the body is going to come even harder, and it's the people who can stick it out the longest that will have the greatest result. And that's what I always tell people. Go back to the genetics thing. Genetics can't be measured until you have the full scope. Like I said, when I was 17 years old, I had great genetics for soccer, had terrible genetics for powerlifting. Now, if you were to look at me, oh, he's got no genetics for soccer. He's got great genetics for powerlifting. It's the result of hard work. Genetics to me are things that you can't overcome. If I'm 5'3", I'm probably not going to make the NBA. But, if it's down to, okay, can I diet correctly? Can I supplement correctly? Can I lift correctly? I can handle those things. I don't worry about what I can't change. I focus entirely on what I can control.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that because I've always been, 6'4", and, I tell people I was always tall, skinny. I was called, I always joke, say I have giraffe legs because they're super long and I have a shorter torso. I was called daddy long legs growing up, like all kinds of things that you can think of. And then, of course, being tall, the skinniest thing on me is obviously my calves. It's super high insertion point. So half of my, it's like my ankle, there's no calf. Like I can't magically make my ankle bigger. People are like, oh, your ankles are so small. And I'm like, what do you expect me to do? Like, there's not a lot. So what I do have, I just work with the best that I have. I know my legs are long. It's not as easy to put. I know I have to work twice as hard as some of my friends that just have tree trunks naturally for legs.
Right.
Great. I just have to work a lot harder. But then I'm like, okay, I know I'm better in some areas than them, but it's just you're good in one area, you're bad in another area. And like I said, you just work with the best and you continue to keep improving on it. Like my calves, my legs are better than they've ever been, but I'm having to work twice as hard. And I know it's not just going to happen overnight that just bam, magically. And, I know I'm always going to get the remarks of look at your skinny legs, no matter how big they are, just because I'm so tall. It's right. I'm not going to magically look right like some guy that's 5'10" and going into the Olympia. I'm not going to, it's just not my genetic makeup, as you're saying.
Right.
So it does take time. And, the funny thing that I wanted to bring up, what kind of goes in with now, and then something you were saying earlier that I see a lot at the gym, there's these guys that just want to, you're talking about building the base of everything. You see guys at the gym that are super, well, some of them are really big. Some of them just like, okay, you can tell that guy works out. He's got a good shape to him, but they're slow overall. Just, they're not fast. They can't run fast. They can't lift fast, and they're weak.
Yep.
So you don't have that base to them, or, that's one of the biggest things I see here. And another example lately that I had the other day with this kid that I've been writing this program, kind of coaching him, teaching him. And I bring him up here often because he's a great caregiver because he's 17, so he's learning a lot of these things that I've learned and I'm teaching him. And I got to the gym, I think yesterday, just after him, or no, it was Monday. And he said there were a couple other guys in the gym that came up to him and they were like, man, you're getting a lot stronger, but they're like, you look smaller. And I'm like, well, for one, and I told him, he understood after. He was like, no, he knew he wasn't smaller because we took progress pictures of him the other day. Right. And I'm like, he's lost body fat. So if someone doesn't know what they're looking at, like, oh, you're smaller, where I'm like, no, he's actually bigger because he's lost body fat, but he has more lean mass and he's stronger. And they're like, oh, you should just start, doing just some more bench press and biceps. And I'm like, what the fuck is the point? Like, people that I don't understand the guys, like I do, because they just want to look good, but girls, and even more so, especially men, not just boys that you see in the gym, most of them, we're supposed to be strong. Like you say, like the whole animalistic thing, that is what we are. If you look back to the roots, we're supposed to be powerful, quick, strong, be able to do these things. And aesthetics comes with that. You're going to get big depending on whatever you do. All powerlifters are huge, no matter if they're the bigger guys or you see guys, like Dan Green, who just is a super, like, he looks like a bodybuilder, but he's a gigantic powerlifter as well.
Yeah.
The strength is, you should have that base. Doesn't matter if you want to be a bodybuilder, this or that. The top bodybuilders you see are super strong guys too, and a lot of them even now do powerlifting and bodybuilding at the same time. So to me, it doesn't make sense of trying to do like, oh, I'm just going to do a bunch of this and that, and I'm not going to worry about being strong, when that's what we're meant to be.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I have some pretty extreme views on the animalistic side, and I won't get into those because I want you to keep your fan base high. But
go for it. I don't care. I'm all about it. If someone doesn't like it,
nah. Well, the reality of it is I think men biologically, and I say this biologically, not morality speaking, but biologically, we're designed to be like lions. We're supposed to be nomadic. We should generally have a group of women that we're around. We should basically, not be taught, monogamy and all that stuff is created through religion and morality. If you look back through the ages, we were just kind of nomadic. We had groups of women, a few males, and they would just rotate and breed. Look at what a lion does. It eats, sleeps, breeds. And that's really kind of what we're designed to do. And then we've beaten that out of ourselves to the point that any show of masculinity or any show of aggression is frowned upon. You know what I mean? And I think, I've even talked to some psychologists about it, talking about that inside feeling that you have. It's like, if somebody took lifting weights away from me, I don't know what I would do. And it's not because that I'm so in love with lifting weights. It's like, if I didn't lift weights, I would probably kill someone, and it's like, my dad doesn't understand that. My brothers don't understand that, but it's like, there are dudes like me that understand exactly what I'm talking about, and it's not like I'm trying to be a badass. It's not like I'm trying to impress anybody, but there's sometimes, like, when I get pissed off, I just want to smash something, and I think if you look back through the ages, that's what a lot of men were, is they were able to be warriors. They were able to fight. They were able to defend something that meant something, and we don't have that. Like, even in the military now, it's not the same. It's very controlled by the government. It's very, you do what we say, you do this and you do that. There's not that intrinsic freedom like there used to be, and I just think it's really strange, like, people that don't get it. But I would argue that people think I'm pretty strange as well. So there's some understanding there, but I think that's what makes guys like us very curious to your average person, is because they don't understand what it takes, and you get into the whole, oh, it's all just performance enhancing drugs, or it's all this or that, or it's all people that can't do it, and people that don't have the drive to do it will make every excuse under the sun. I would argue that 99% of the population couldn't walk a day in my shoes, from the meal prep to eating the food to doing the things that I do to balancing my life, and I'm no better than anybody else. It's just I have a dedication to what I believe in and what I want to do. And that's what I think lacks in so many people, is they have no dedication to anything. They don't believe in anything. They don't, so many people, like, I'm getting way off the topic here, but, like, I just kind of tuned out. Like, I don't watch TV. I don't do any of that stuff. Like, I just try to live in my bubble, because, you can get so wrapped up in all the negativity that's on the news, all the negativity that's on social media. It's everywhere. Negativity is. So I just try to live my life as positively as I possibly can, try to help as many people as I possibly can. And that's really, to me, if you get up every single day, you read something, you pray, and you help somebody, what more can you really hope for in a day? That's what I look at, and, that's how I live my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like you're saying, I'm right there with you because there's, like AJ or any of us, it's something that's part of us. Because to me, it's like I'm connected more to the roots of what we are.
Right.
You're saying we could get all crazy and deep into this and the psychological aspect and the evolution of man and all these crazy things. But to me, that's how it feels, and that's why I love. I don't consider myself a power lifter. I'm never thinking of like I'm going to do a meet, but a lot of my base training is based off of powerlifting, and I love it. It's an awesome sport, and then I like it because it's heavy weights. To me,
Sure.
there's nothing cooler than a deadlift or like a tire flip.
Yeah.
Like you're picking up this fucking dead massive weight off the ground. Like how
Yeah.
more manly is and cool is that, or taking a big tire and flipping, and that's why I like a lot of the powerlifting and strongman, odd implement stuff. I knew you were just out with Zach's place and stuff, and that's why I like that. It has that masculine feel, and there's people that's they'll take it to the extreme, which to us is not what everybody classifies it as. It's natural, and it feels good to sweat my ass off, throw tires around, pick weights up, smash shit with sledgehammers. Like it's something that is enjoyable, and to me, it's natural. You're moving around, like that's better to me than let me go party and hang out and do this and that. Like, they're not saying anything's wrong with that, but I'm like you. I don't do a whole lot with that. Like people ask me what I do. 90% of my time, for the most part, is almost by myself all the time because I'm doing my stuff. I got a business I'm trying to build. The majority of my social time is the gym. Like that is my bar or the club, and people are like, what? Like, how can you? For me, I can't wait. I get up around 4 or 5. By the time it's around 12, I'm like itching for 1 o'clock to go to the gym. So I'm like, I gotta go. And just like you, if I don't go, I'm an asshole.
Yep.
Like, I get really irritated easy, and it's not just that I'm an asshole. It's just I don't have something that I need that's natural, like with animals, that aren't able to hunt or do these things anymore, or fall out. They fall down the chain and they seem like they get depressed because they're not doing what they feel is just within them.
Right.
And that's why it's hard for people like us to kind of, I think, explain to people that don't understand it, because some of them, no matter what you say, aren't going to understand it. Some of them will because they're open-minded, but it's very few and far between. And it's hard to explain because it's almost like you can't explain something that just feels natural. Like that's what you got to do and that's what you want to do. And it's the same, I guess, for us, for these guys that are like, why do you not want to lift heavy weights? Like, I don't want to be strong and lift heavy. I just want to like look good. To me, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you crazy? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So I know I'm crazy to some people, and like you say, you got to be crazy to do some of the things we do. And I straight up tell people, yeah, I'm crazy. Like, I embrace my crazy and take it into the gym. Like, I use it. Like, that's fun to me. But the other people to me are crazy. Like, I don't understand that.
The other thing that I tell people a lot of times, I had a lot of falling out with my family because they're very Southern Baptist, very religious driven, and you walk the line. You don't ruffle any feathers. You just walk the line. And, when I was 23, 24, I landed a great job. I was making great money, had the American dream, had the picture perfect house, drove all the nice vehicles. And I hated myself. I absolutely hated the person that I saw in the mirror. And, now, if you were to look at it from the outside, it's like, well, he doesn't quite have all the things that he used to have, but you know what? I've got money in the bank, which I didn't have before, because I was spending it on all trying to keep up with the Joneses. And then the other thing I have is absolute freedom. Before at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday, I couldn't have talked to you because I was sitting at a desk pencil pushing, what this craziness and what this drive has afforded me is the ability to do whatever the fuck I want, and it's not that I'm some badass or somebody that's, so different than anybody else. It's just, I was willing to put everything on the line to do exactly what I wanted to do. And one of the coolest things I ever heard was Travis Barker, drummer from Blink-182. He said that one of the first areas he got tattooed after he got his arms done was his throat. He said because he knew if he didn't make it as a drummer, he was going to be flipping burgers for the rest of his life. And I'm heavily tattooed as well. And I remembered that when I first got my tattoo, like below my shoulder, or not below my shoulder, but below my elbow. I was like, once that gun touches my skin, there's no turning back. You know what I mean? And that really, for me, I still look at my arms sometimes and I'm like, it's such a freeing thing to see those tattoos, because every tattoo I have has meaning, but they mean freedom to me. You know what I mean? It's like, I know I'm never going to get that corporate job because of the way I look, and the things that most people deem like high quality and whatever just have no meaning to me. I mean, I got a fairly new pickup truck that I love. I got a beautiful place that I live in. And like I said, I'm not chasing anybody else. I'm chasing what I want to do. The other day, I spent all day on the lake in a boat. Next Sunday, I'm going camping. Monday, I'm going to spend again on the lake fishing. I pretty much got the American dream. You know what I mean? That's what I said the other day. And it's not because of anything other than just following the pursuit of what I want to do, exactly what I want to do, not taking no for an answer. And that, again, comes from the gym. How many times have you failed in the gym and you keep coming back? Same thing for me in life. I've been kicked in the balls repeatedly in life, but here I am. I just keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. And I'll always be coming back. It's always going to be my drive. And, I could be helping people. I could be a school teacher, and that's an honest, admirable, it's an admirable thing to do, but I would rather be teaching people in the gym. I'd rather be coaching people online. That's just me. So.
Yeah. No, and I agree. It's funny because I come into people, with same thing as you. Like, I'm putting everything I have into doing what I want to do. If it doesn't work out, I'll come back and figure out a way to do it again. Like I tell people, I'm not big into the whole I failed. I hate saying I failed. And I catch myself now a lot of times of saying I failed. And I forget who said the quote, because I was talking to somebody about it today. A friend of mine that wanted to just get into day trading. So I wanted to do trade stocks. He likes it, but he's like, I lost all of my money and now I got to go back, save some more and come back again. And he's like, I failed. I'm like, you didn't fail. And man, I can't remember who said the quote. I think it was like Einstein or somebody. And they said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. Or no, I think it was maybe Benjamin Franklin. He said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just found 1,000 ways it didn't work.
Right.
It's pretty much like what it is. Like, I didn't fail. It's just, didn't work that way. So let me try it this way now. I know 1,000 ways it's not going to work. I know all these ways it's not going to work now. So don't make that mistake again and now go a new route. And it takes, like, keep going back. It takes someone that's kind of a little crazy. You gotta be crazy to break the norm of what things are and believe in something that you can't see, and not in a religious way. Like faith is a tricky word to say to people. I say like, oh, I got faith in this. And I'm like, it's not a religious, I'm not a religious person at all. I've stepped into church like once or twice maybe, but it's, if you want to relate it to religion, that's great. But because it still has the same meaning as if within faith, but it's like, you're crazy enough to believe that you can squat over 1,000 pounds. You have faith. Like, you could be squatting too. You started, like you said, 135 pounds, put you to the ground.
Right.
And now it's over 1,000. Like, you got to be crazy to have that faith to believe in that. Like, I have faith in what I want to do inside and outside the gym. You can't see it, but you have faith in that. And it does. A lot of people have a hard time with that, whether you want to get into, with the media and things that go on out there. A lot of people like, I can't do it. It's like, why not? Like, oh, I want to do this. I want to write and make money. It's like, there's a lot more writers out there that make money and have professional careers than people that lift weights and make money. So it's kind of funny when people are like, oh, I want to do this. How am I going to make money? I'm like, who thought of however many years ago, like for you or any of us, saying, I lift weights. Like, that's my passion. And now I teach people and coach, or I do this and I make money from it. People have thought you were fucking crazy. Just like, I'm going to put water in a bottle and I'm going to sell it. No one's going to buy that. Well, now it's $1 multi-billion dollar business. So it takes believing in what you can't see and having that craziness within you. And that's why I embrace the crazy now.
Yeah, well, the thing that people often forget, and one of the realizations that I had along the way, if you really stop and look at life, especially for a younger person, but I mean, even to a certain age, um, in this country, we're afforded so many opportunities. No matter what you want to do, there are steps to get there. It may be 3 steps, it may be 100 steps, but whatever you want to do, whatever it is, there is an avenue to get there. You just have to want it, and you have to be willing to give it your all. It's like, I got my master's degree, and that was a long time ago. And, first person to graduate college in my family, first person to get a master's degree, you kind of feel accomplished. When I got hurt, and I'm sitting here thinking, one of the things I did was make a bucket list, a real like badass motherfucking bucket list. Like not, I want to grow a garden or some shit like that. Like honestly, one of the things I put down was I want to go to Everest. Like I want to at least attempt to climb Everest.
Yeah.
Another thing that I put down was I wanted to get my doctorate, and so beside everything that I put down, I listed steps. How would I get there? What are the realistic steps for me to get there? Everest, it's save about 12 grand, fly over and make the trip. But along with that, it's physical conditioning, mental preparation, things like that I also listed. For the doctorate, it was, okay, take your entrance exams, start applying, do those things. I'm going to be a doctor one day, a PhD. I'm not going to be a medical doctor, PhD. But it's because I know the steps and I'm willing to take those steps to do that. Whereas so many people just say, I want to be an astronaut, but they don't do good in school. They don't apply themselves. They don't do anything else. They might have been the best astronaut in the world if they knew how to plan, if they knew how to take those steps. And that's one area where I think I'm proficient, at least, is addressing what needs to be done. Like I can analyze a situation, I can look at it, and I can say, okay, this, and this are what are going to make me better. This, and this are what are going to make me worse. So I'm able to decipher pretty clearly what I need to do. And as long as I'm doing that, sometimes I have pitfalls, but as long as I'm doing what I need to do, no matter if it's in the gym or out of the gym, I find myself getting better. Because trust me, if you'd have seen me when I first started lifting weights in the first 2-3 years that I was lifting, you would say, this guy's like a soup sandwich. He is terrible. He's never going to amount to shit. He's never going to be anything. But you know what? I was the kid that if you told me to do 20 reps with something, I'm going to die trying to get 25. I was always willing to push and push and push and push. And that's what gained me the respect of my peers or those guys that were older than me, and they continued to help me. This is not a solo journey. You know what I mean? I've got a stack of books right here on training that I read often. I read them, then I'll reread them or reread sections of them just because it's like, hey, I remembered something that was in there that was really good. What was it? What was it? And I'll go back. It's a never-ending process. It's a never-ending wheel that keeps going around and around and around. And, as soon as you think you know everything, and because let me give you this example. When I trained the West Side system, that was all I preached about. West Side, West Side, West Side, West Side. And I would deny so many good ideas that are out there that I've looked back upon and been like, damn, that was a hell of an idea. But it was like I believed so heavily in what I was doing that I denied everything else. So I actually just posted a video not too long ago. What is the best powerlifting method? I've got the cube method. I've got variations of the cube method. But the best method is the one you believe in. Like you said, belief is tremendous. I don't care if you believe in, doing jumping jacks and sit-ups will make you a better powerlifter. If you believe that and you can apply that and it makes you a better powerlifter, who the hell am I to tell you that it's wrong? You know what I mean? And that's why I never, ever preach science when it comes to the cube method. I tell people, look, if you want science, go to Mel Siff, go to somebody else that'll sit there and talk your leg off about that stuff. What I want is results. And the greatest variable in the world is the human body. So if one method was scientifically perfect or accurate, anybody that did it would be a world champion. Anybody that did it would have immediate, infinite success. It's not the case. Um, Even the cube method, it has tremendous success across the boards. But there are a lot of people who tried it and it's been like, I need more, I need this, or I need that. That's okay. I'm glad you tried it. Hopefully you gave it a valiant effort. But the reality is, it's not for some people. Just like, the way you train probably isn't for me, so on and so forth. But a person that can take a method, read it, understand it, and adapt it to themselves is going to have far more success than somebody who picks up a book and does it cookie cutter straight from the back of the book. That's like the West Side method. If you looked at what Louis Simmons wrote in the West Side methods book or whatever, it's a very good starting point. It's a very good outline of what to do. If you looked at what AJ did when he was a champion, if you looked at what Dave Hoff did now that he's a champion, if you looked at what I did when I was at Westside, 100 miles different than the book. And all three of our training styles were different, even though we're in the same gym, same coach. That's what people need to understand. It's okay to be different than your training partners. I mean, we trained in the same circles, but we all did different things. So if you're going in and your training partner is trying to go rep for rep with you, he's somewhere denying himself his ability to be the best that he can be. Yeah. That's why a lot of the guys that I train with, we'll do the main movement together, and then we'll all break off and do our accessories. I need more tricep work, or this guy needs more back work, or whatever. Taking ownership of training and really taking ownership of everything that you do, being accountable for every single thing that you do, will make you such a better person, a better lifter, a better coach, whatever it is. That's just be accountable. Like take ownership of it.
Yeah, and that's one thing like that I with the whole non-scientific, and it's not like you're just fucking making it up while you're taking a shit or something. Like there's actually a method behind it.
Yeah,
but you're not like some of these ones where it's all crazy and this science and this and that, and like those things are cool. It's great and it's awesome to learn about them because you learn about them and it does make sense, but it doesn't need to be insanely scientific. People ask me stuff and I'm like, dude, let me look it up, because for one, I'm not going to remember all of this shit. That's why we have books and the internet, because I can look things up and not have to memorize a bazillion things. But it's just, for me, a lot of the science stuff, it's like you said, you could use all the science stuff you want, but in the end of the day, it's not going to matter if someone's not putting in the effort. And that's what I like with your approach to it. And like I'd say the two that stick out is like you and Wendland with this, because I've done a lot of 5-3 and it works great for me. It's not going to work great for everybody, but again, like I said, it's the core base. And then you build onto that with specifics, like of what you need. And I'm, saying cube. It's super simple. It's not overcomplicated. Both systems, right. Super simple, and you specify it from there. Like you were saying, you could have your accessory work different from the other guy. Like when I'm at the gym, the kid that I'm doing with, we have the same base of like a powerlifting and a progressive overload over the 4 weeks, and then he's got his specific accessories. Sometimes we'll have some of the same stuff, but they're not back to back the exact same way. And then I'll be doing something different. He's doing something different. And then maybe we happen to do the same exercise at the same time and then go off and do something totally different. You can write specific, because I have programs where it's like, here, it's great for everybody, but there's still going to be modifications within there. There's an outline, and then you grow from that. And with these scientific ones, again, they're not bad. There's more than one way to get to any destination.
Right.
They tend to be overcomplicated, at least in my personal opinion. I can tell with yours, they're overcomplicated instead of just like, here's a base, train, learn, and then improve from there. Instead, it's just like, well, there's this variable and that variable, and it's just like, you spend more time trying to figure it out than just picking up a damn bar and lifting it.
Right. Well, that's funny that you say that, because that's one of the things. There's some methods, and I spoke earlier about technique, and it's individual technique. There are some people who believe in you should never start a deadlift with a rounded back. You should always have an arched back. You should always be pulling from a perfect position. Well, if you look at me when I deadlift, I lock out above my dick. Like my arms are so short and my torso is so long, it's like I have the longest pull ever. So if I were to start with an arched back in that position, I'm still 5 inches from grabbing the bar. So for me, what I always look at with lifters is where they're at when the bar's at their knees. I start out with a rounded back position, but at the knee point, my knees are directly over my ankles, my back is arched, my hips are locked in, and that gives me the best direct line to pull efficiently from that point. I don't care how you get from point A to there. From there, you're in the best line to pull properly. And that's what a really good coach can do. That's what a guy like Louis Simmons can do, who's seen thousands upon thousands of lifters doing millions of reps. He can watch AJ at 5'10" and me at 6 foot. AJ's got a quite squat. He's got kind of a squattier build. You know, his legs are shorter than mine are. So he can see, okay, well, AJ needs to do this. Brandon, you need to do this. And on the bench press, AJ has a little bit longer arms than I do. So, AJ, you need to do this. Brandon, you need to do this. It's being able to adapt your coaching style to that person. And I had a really good point I was wanting to make earlier, and it kind of slipped my memory, but hopefully it'll get jogged here in a second, because I think it's important that people understand. Oh, I remember it now. It was on the scientific stuff. Shaco, I went to his seminar when I was in Australia, listened to Louis' seminars talk, a lot of Mel Stiff stuff, a lot of other coaches. They talk about Bondarchuk from I can't even remember now, but you know what I'm talking about. A lot of these guys, they talk about optimal training percentages for a training cycle. And when I was making out the cube method, when I was writing down the system, all I did was log my training for a 10-week cycle. And then I just found the percentage of what my max was, and I said, okay, let's start here. Because I was training with a guy named Jimmy Harris and a guy named Ryan Messmer, and they were getting tremendous gains as well. So in the end, when I logged all those percentages, totally accidental, totally random, just total feel. I went into the gym and did what I felt like I could do or what I should do. When I averaged it out, Louis, Melsev, Bondarchuk, all those guys will tell you, Prilpin, they'll say an optimum training level for a cycle is about 70%. You know, you want the majority of your weights to be around 70%. Well, when I was given this information and I applied it to the cube method came out at 72%. Totally accidental, totally random, just based off of what I felt like I should do in the gym. So, you know, I still held within those parameters that a lot of people preach about, but I think it came from me, and maybe even those people too, just from understanding training. You know, I was fortunate enough to have really, really good coaches who pointed me at really, really good books to read. And, you know, they said, do these things and learn these things. So when I applied it, I learned what muscle should feel like when I'm in a certain week. I learned what weight should feel like when I'm so far out from a competition. And then when I go out on my own and I'm trying to just train for myself, kind of a chaos method, not really having any direction, I automatically fell back into those percentages unknowingly. You know what I mean? So it was kind of cool how that worked out. But, you know, again, it does fall back into that science realm. There are some people like me, I tend to get very strong very quickly. Like when I came back from my injury, I hadn't benched in almost 3 months. And, well, I had 2 bench workouts or something, but when I go into bench, I barely got 405, like barely. And I'm a near 600-pound raw bencher, so I barely got 405. And now, about a month later, you know, I'm nearing 500 again. You know what I mean? And it's like, you're not going to go back into the gym and probably gain 400 to 500 pounds in a month. But my body's already been there. My body's been beyond that. And I do get strong very quickly. So if somebody were to look at my training in the last few weeks and try to model themselves after it, it would kill them, you know. And that's the problem with the internet again is, you know, well, I'm going to do what Dan Green does, or I'm going to do what Eric Lillibridge does, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. It just doesn't apply because under Dan Green and under Eric Lillibridge are 13 years of uninterrupted, perfect training. You know, Eric Lillibridge, for example, his dad started coaching him when he was 13 years old, fed him the perfect foods at all the right times, gave him perfect coaching, perfect technique. And that's why people are like, God, he's so strong at 24 years old. He's this genetic mutant. Well, you didn't see Eric at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old when he was nothing. You know what I mean? When he was just struggling to come up. And now you're seeing the end result of all that hard work. And that's what so many people lack, is they don't realize when they're watching a YouTube video of a guy. We all make highlight reels of ourselves. We don't put the set on there that looks like shit. You put the set on there that looks awesome, you know. You want to showcase yourself. So these young kids kind of get misled. God, Dan Green hits a PR every time he's in the gym, you know, or Brandon Lilly never misses a lift. I try not to, but it happens, you know. We're human too. We're flesh and bone. We go through the same shit that everybody else goes through. It's just we try to find a way to minimize it. You know, that's the one thing that I've found with Dan, other great lifters, is they try to minimize mistakes, and that should be life. You know, just try to make as few mistakes as you can. But when they come and when they happen, learn from them. You know, why did I make this mistake? Why did I miss this lift? You know, address yourself.
Yeah, and, you know, then that kind of brings the huge point I was saying with the internet and things like that, of people pretty much bypassing how we were talking about the base, building a solid base. Or like people say with the pyramid, you can only build the pyramid as high as wide as the base is.
Right.
And it's the same with that. All these people, you know, that you see, whether it's bodybuilding or trying to get in strength, this and that, you know, they're trying to squat as much as they can before they should. Their form sucks. They're not squatting all the way deep. They're, you know, benching. And I see it all the time at the gym. And it's super funny because everyone's loading up 10-kilo plates.
Right.
No one ever puts a 20 on. It's just more 10s because they want to see more of the weights. And then they're like, yeah, they get under it. And they come down, and, you know, and they're stopping about this far above. And, you know, they do one or two. And then they get up like, yeah, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm so good. Or these guys trying to look like Muscle Mag, you know, like Ronnie Coleman or any of these big bodybuilders, and they're bypassing all the shit those guys did over the years to get there, or trying to bench press, you know, like a power lifter, and bypassing everything else, and they're not doing the accessory work that needs to be put in there. They're just benching, and now I'm going to do decline, now I'm going to do incline, and now I'm going to go back to flat bench again. It's like they bypass all this core stuff, and that's why I try and teach people, like, oh, I want to get to that. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, all these guys that you said, it's years and years and years. Like, I know I still haven't hit anywhere near where I know I can go, because now I've made these mistakes. Now I learned from the shit people do. Now I was there at one point. Now it's like, okay, now I'm building up base, and I know it's going to take time. And like, so I have my strong points and weak points, and it's just one step after the other, and keep building the base, and everything goes from there. And that's the biggest thing I see with the internet or anything these days. And it seems like it's kind of gotten a little worse for the most part, I guess, in the mass crowd, because now more people are starting to work out. There's CrossFit. A lot of people want to be doing CrossFit now, and they want to be these CrossFit Games winners and things, but they don't. They just look at those guys and let me do all this crazy stuff, and they're not building the base. And then, how you said, there's the core system, and then it goes on from there. You know, whether you're a power lifter or a bodybuilder or, you know, a top level games competitor, they're not doing the same thing that you can read in the West Side Barbell Book Methods, or you go into any CrossFit and do all these WODs. That's not what all these top level athletes are doing. They started with the base, and then they're doing that where everyone's kind of basically trying to jump from point A to the fucking finish line without everything in between.
You know, if I have a young kid come to me and they're like, you know, I've been lifting for a year, is the Q method for me? My direct answer is no. Go back and train for about 3 more years and really try to, again, build your base and get some experience under the barbell, and then go back to a powerlifting method. The other answer that I give them is, if you're going to disregard my initial advice and you're going to pick a powerlifting method, because most of them are, like, they want to get into powerlifting, so they think they have to train a powerlifting method. I said, look, the Q method, 5-3-1, there are methods out there that are going to be beneficial, and they're not going to break you down. But I really think you would benefit more from a bodybuilding, power building style routine. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I did my very first ever powerlifting meet at 219 pounds. totally bodybuilding, power building style training. I squatted 660, bench 440, and pulled 670 in a drug tested meet. And, you know, everybody was like, oh, he beat the drug test. He beat the drug test. He beat the drug test. No, I was training with, like I said, I was training with a group of people that were like just animals in the gym. They didn't cut me any slack. They're like, if you don't want to do this, there's the fucking door. And, you know, they pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And I was able to get really, really strong. And that's one thing. Here's an example that I give people about what an atmosphere can do for you. Because let's take Westside Barbell, okay? I know I keep going back to them, but they're kind of the benchmark for a lot of people. And so the Westside method, it doesn't seem to work as well outside of Westside Barbell as it does inside Westside Barbell. You know, is it because Louie's there? Is it because they have a better understanding? No, it's because you have 15 guys that are completely fucking nuts that want nothing in the world but to set absolute world records, and they don't care how they do it. They're absolutely going to train their ass off to be the best in the world. And then you go to another gym where you have 4 guys just training for a 600-pound squat, and it's not going to have the same results. You know what I mean? It's all about what you bring to the table, what the guy next to you brings to the table. And that's why Westside has been dominantly successful for 30 years. One, because Louie is willing to push the limit, you know, whether, you know, on any level, whether it's training, whether it's the equipment that they use, whatever it is, he'll try anything to get 1 more pound on the bar. Most people won't do that. Most people are so afraid of failure they won't risk for the potential gain. Louie was always a gambler, you know, so he took those risks. The other thing is, unless you've been around somebody with that mentality, like talking to you right now, you would probably never guess, if you didn't know me, you would probably never guess how I am when I train. I mean, I'm not an asshole per se, but like I said before, when I go in the gym, like I'm there for 2 hours to absolutely wreck shit. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm here to get better. I'm not here to talk to you. I don't give a fuck about your wife. I don't give a fuck about your girlfriend. I don't give a damn about your job. I don't care about anything. Crank the music, put the plates on, and let's fucking pound some shit. And that's the way I train. And, you know, the people that tend to hang with me and have that like-minded mentality, they don't get better because they train with me. They get better because they're like-minded, and I can give them a simple amount of guidance or that extra push. You know what I mean? That's what one of the things that happened in a gym I was training at before. They're like, well, Brandon's coaching these guys, and he's not helping anybody else. Motherfucker, door's open. You can train with me if you want. If you can't hang, get the fuck out. You know, same rules apply as they apply to me. If you can't hang, get the hell out of here, you know? And a lot of people just can't hang, and they talk the talk, and they try to walk the walk, and, you know, they put their shit on Instagram or they put their shit on Facebook. Oh, I want to be the best, and I've got haters, and I've got this, and I've got that. Listen, you don't have haters. You know what I mean? It's like nobody hates you because you squat 400 pounds, and I'm talking about like for a competitive powerlifter. You start squatting 800, 900, 1,000 pounds, then you're going to get some shit talkers. You know what I mean? So people get so wrapped up in themselves. It's kind of like a kung fu type deal or martial arts. You just kind of have to lose the self to your goal. You know what I mean? You just kind of have to forget everything about yourself to pursue the goal. And that's another Louis Simmons quote. You know, he's like, well, you guys are trying to become famous on the internet and expand yourself. He said, I'm trying to regress into nothing. He said, because if I'm nothing, then I can give myself completely to the powerlifting. You know, and I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've always had people think, like, I have had training partners in the past where we maybe said, like I heard you were saying, like with your buddy, you'll maybe send 10 words or something the whole time. And I've had training partners, like we both have my headphones on, he'll have his on. I might say like, hey, something, you know, spot me, and that's it. And like, it has to do with something. Like there's that. And there's, you know, at the gym I'm at now, it's a small gym, things like that. And again, there's not a lot of like there's not a lot of people train how we would train. So I get psycho crazy looks, and it's, in a way, it's cool to me because I'm like, cool, no one's ever in my way. The Power Rack's always open for me pretty much. Like I don't have to wait for shit. But the shitty part for me personally is there's really nobody else that's stronger that can push me. So it's like I have to reach out and, you know, people like you and AJ and things like that. That's like, okay, I have to watch these videos. So I have to be pushed in another way because I don't have guys that are crazy stronger than me. And I get, like my buddy, I'm like, now some of these guys that have been seeing me more and then I've been coaching him, they'll come up and they'll say hi to me now and they'll shake my hand because a lot of them are kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they first thought I was like some asshole or something. So I got my headphones on, you know, weights dropping, chalks all over the fucking floor and shit. And I'm just like, I don't smile, and it's not like I'm an asshole because they find out like, oh, this guy's actually really nice. Like I'll talk to people afterwards, but I don't like, I'm not there to chit chat. You know, I'm there to work out. I always, you know, I have the business and I should probably take more videos or something out there, but I'll think of it when I go to the gym, like, oh yeah, I got to take a video of this, or, you know, cause someone's asking, totally forget. Cause I'm just, I want to work out. I'm there to train. If I don't, I have a shitty training session. So I try and just leave everything at the door, work out. And it's not for everybody, but for us, it works. I think that's how you should train. Like the kid that I'm working out with, I've done that to him and started to push him more. I'll see him sitting around sometimes, and people will probably think like I'm an asshole, and he laughs because he knows now. I go up to him like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You want some coffee while you guys are sitting here or something? Or are you here to work out? And he's like, oh, okay. You know, or people try and come up and talk to me a few times. And again, I'm not going to be like, fuck you pretty much, but I'll be like, yeah, okay. And then I'll put my headphones back in and I'll grab the bar, and then they'll kind of, otherwise they don't shut up. So it's like, you kind of, not trying to be a dick, but I pretty much have to just start working out. That's the only way they're going to shut up.
Yeah, dude, I wish, you know, I wish people could be a fly on the wall for a West Side training session and then to train with Chuck. Listen, if you try to talk to Chuck like buddy in the gym, it's just not going to happen. I mean, it's just, he's either going to straight up walk away from you or tell you to get the fuck out, you know? And like at West Side, I remember we had a group of visitors one day. I'll tell you two quick stories about West Side. We had two visitors come in one day, and I knew them from the internet, and I remembered seeing them like they were just constantly talking how hardcore they were and how this and how that. Louis let us all squat first. And my feeling looking back on it was I didn't have breakfast with them that morning, so I don't know what was said at breakfast. But my feeling was maybe they had kind of talked a big game at breakfast. So Louis was going to put them on the spot. And so at Westside, it's like this. You squat, the weight is changed, and the next guy goes. The weight is changed, the next guy goes. So when you're in a group of two people, you get no rest. It's like boom, 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 boom. And that makes an awesome scenario because you don't have time to think. You don't have time to get scared, you know. So these two guys are going, and about 3 squats in, they're just fucking dying. I mean, they're just sweats pouring, huffing and puffing. So one of them sits down on, it was a power rack, and we had a deadlift bar in the bar or across the power rack. The guy's sitting on the bar. Louis just walks over and kicks it out from under him. And here he is in a pair of briefs and a canvas suit bottom. So he's like a June bug on his back. You know, he can't really get up as easy. And Louis like, you don't fucking sit down. He said, get your fat ass up, you know. And I just, you know, that's the way it is. Like, you're there to get strong. You're not there to sit down. You're not there to be friends. You're not there for anything. And I think that is what's lost so much on this strength culture is they think it's fun. I mean, I hate to say that because it should be fun, but they think it's like, oh, look at me. You know, I set a PR. Look, I bought a cute singlet with, you know,
it's
a
like
cat on
out with your boys or something like that. Like,
yeah,
they think of
it's become that. And while I love seeing this influx of people into the sport, and hell, I don't care what your goals are. If you're doing something, I'm proud of you, you know, but it's like there are certain things that I know about the sport and I've seen about the sport and I've seen people bleed for this sport. And then you see these people coming in expecting recognition. I'm sure you've seen it on Facebook, these people that are sponsor hungry. You know what I mean? It's like, I need a sponsor. I need a sponsor. I need a sponsor. What the fuck have you done? You know, I didn't get a sponsor till I had a 2,200-pound raw total and a 2,600-pound gear total. And I'm sitting there like, I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know that putting it on Facebook might get me a sponsor. I didn't ask anybody. It was at that point that somebody came to me and said, hey, look, we'd like to offer you something. We'd like to give you a little bit of something to help with your training. And literally, it was nothing, but it felt like everything. And even the sponsors I have now, I'm sponsored by a major supplement company. I'm thankful as hell for the supplements I get, but you know, it's like it's not what people think it is. You know what I mean? People think they're writing you some big fat ass check and you're living in some huge ass house because of them. They're giving me some supplements and I work for my income through them. You know what I mean? Like I'm required to keep posts on their forum. I'm required to do so many Instagram photos of their product. I'm required to do this. I'm required to do that. And that's fine. I'm thankful for that. But these people that want, like, I got to get to my second story. So before what I'm getting ready to say sounds like I'm a complete asshole. When I go to meet Louie after my first multiply powerlifting meet, and we had talked on the phone. He'd given me some advice. Really, really thankful for his advice because it made me a better lifter. But I go up to meet him, and like I said, I have breakfast with him at Bob Evans, and I'm a visitor. So when we get there, it's just like walking into a den full of pit bulls. I mean, everybody's sizing you up. Everybody's trying to get a feel for you. And, you know, Louis just kind of ignores you at first. He talks to everybody else that's there, and then he gets to you. He goes, what's your name? I said, Brandon Lilly. He said, oh, yeah. From Kentucky, right? I said, yeah. He goes, well, what do you weigh? I said, 268. He said, what do you squat? I said, 750. He said, that's not going to cut it. I got 181-pound women that squat 750. You know, and for me, I was pissed off because back home I'd let myself kind of gloat and get the big chest and like, you know, I squat 750, blah, 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 you know, like proud, overly proud. And here Louis has cut me down in 2 seconds. But the reality of it was 2 minutes later, he explained to himself. He's like, if I had guys that were satisfied with 750, my doors would be closed in 6 months, you know, and that's the truth. So when these guys are up there asking for a sponsorship, and I'm not going to name a total, but I mean, a less than deserving total, let's say, and they're asking for sponsorship, it's like, do you really think a company wants to associate with that? Like, and I'm not trying to be an asshole about it, but it's just the reality of it. Would you rather have a Dan Green or a guy who Dan Green's subtotal, which is bench and deadlift, matches their full total? You know what I mean? It's like, it just infuriates me, you know? And it's like so many people just want an easy way. They want anything for free. They don't want to work for shit. And that is, to me, what's downgrading the sport. You know, the sport is growing and it's awesome, but people need to kind of earn their rank, so to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there are people who've been in the sport for so long who are doing so many good things that you don't even hear about anymore, like Chuck Vogelpohl. I mean, he's been around forever. He broke his back. He had a surgery. He's coming back. And nobody's even talking about the dude because he's not on Facebook. He's not on Instagram. You know what I mean? But he's one of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet. And, you know, it's sad. It's really sad. You know, and that sounds ironic from a guy that makes his living basically through social media. But at the same time, you know, I would like to believe that I back up what I say. You know what I mean? That's the one thing that I try to stand for is I try to back up what I say.
Yeah, and that's where you say that's kind of the big difference is the people that are out there saying a bunch of shit or this or that, and then the people that actually, like you use the social media, but whatever you say, you walk the walk, you know, and there's a lot of people that just talk about it or they half-ass it. There's a huge difference between the two.
Yeah. And I mean, and I don't disrespect those people because I was at that level at one point as well. You know what I mean? And that's a natural progression. But understand you are what you are. Like, dude, people think I'm being facetious or sarcastic when I say it. I do not consider myself a great powerlifter. You know, I have top 20 totals in every division that I've lifted in. I've got 9 elite totals in different weight classes, raw and geared. And people are like, oh, you're a great powerlifter. You're a great powerlifter. Dan Green's a great powerlifter. Eric Lillibridge is a great powerlifter. Dave Hoff, AJ Roberts, Andre Milanichev, those are great powerlifters. I would say I'm a very good powerlifter. You know what I mean? It's like, but I've always been the guy that just kept coming back and had to think my way through things. The sport never came necessarily easy to me. So I think I connect with people on that level. I've worked my way up, and people have seen that, through social media. They remember when I was totaling 2,200 pounds in gear and then working my way up to 2,600. They've seen me when I was totaling 2,100 in gear, and they followed me up. So, I think that's one thing that social media can do, is it can allow you the mechanism to show people your progress, and that can allow them to follow you. But just coming out of nowhere and having this average, mediocre total and then expecting to be the second coming, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just not going to happen,
Yeah, just be the guy that, like you said, be the other spectrum of that, of just posting stuff up and getting better at it, reaching out. Instead of reaching out for sponsors, reach out to people that can help you get the numbers even better than what you're already doing.
Yeah. I haven't posted maybe one bench video since I came back from my injury. Just because, kind of like you said before, I kind of got lost in, okay, I got to have somebody take this set. I got to have somebody do this. And it was losing the organicness of the training. You know what I mean? You just, like I said, a couple Mondays ago, I went in, I had two goals. I wanted to bench 445 for reps, and I wanted to do a new rep PR with 315 since my injury. I wanted to do those two things. So I go in, I do those two things, and then I just blacked out. I just kept doing set after set after rep. No organization. I didn't know how many sets of stuff I was doing. I didn't know how many reps. I just went until I couldn't anymore. And, man, you talk about an awesome feeling, like a freedom, because in powerlifting we almost lock ourselves into, okay, Monday is max effort lower, Wednesday is max effort upper, Friday is this, Saturday is this. You can only do X amount of sets for X amount of reps at X amount of percentage. And I just quit that. Like, I just went in and I just started banging weights again, and God, it felt so good. Like, it just felt absolutely amazing. But my goal and my goals remain around powerlifting. So I can't do that all the time. But what's going to stop me from going in every once in a while and training like that, Nothing, because I went in a few days later or the next week and hit a bench PR. So obviously it didn't hurt, to just go crazy every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm kind of like that sometimes with mine. Like, I'll still pretty much have, like, the base of my main lifts. Here's the percentages based off the week I have to do and the reps. And then sometimes it's like, you look at my training log, and I get this with some people because I'm always like, hey, write your stuff down, do this, that, make it all details, because especially if someone doesn't know what they're doing, it's like, stick to it until you can kind of learn more. But you'll look at mine, and there's literally days where it just has percentages.
Right.
The page is blank because I'm like, I'm just doing whatever the hell I want to do. I want to do a bunch of this, or I want to do a bunch of that, because for one, it breaks up the monotony of the same thing over and over. It's like you said, you just go in, and I did a bunch of this and it felt great. Like, I feel like I want to train more of this or that, or, I'm going to do this style of a set. It's endless of what you want to do. And it makes it nice. And you're still, like you said, you still break PRs. I still do mine, and I'll come back and be like, okay, great. And I'll have a new deadlift PR or a rep record PR.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you got to do, is you've got to keep training fun, because I'll admit, when I got hurt, I was going to take a 9-month kind of hiatus from powerlifting training, just go back to bodybuilding style, fix some weak spots, just because I'd gotten really burnt out on it, and it's like, how can you burn out when you're having a lot of success? Well, when it loses what it's really at its core, it feels good, it makes you feel better, and I'd lost all of that, you know what I'm saying? So, this injury kind of forced my hand to do that, and I wish to hell it hadn't happened this way, but I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about my training moving forward, and I think in the long run, it's going to make me a better lifter. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can see that, and I'm excited for that. So with that kind of being said, because I know we've been going a little longer than we were originally planning. For more people that want to find out, we'll start with this. For a lot of people that want to know more about the Cube Method, more about you, and I'll put up links and everything below this
Sure.
when I do the post, but where are the main places people can follow you from, especially learning more about the Cube Method, and then with you and your recovery and back into it as well?
The main places, if you just want to see, if you want to see Brandon Lilly, the guy, just kind of away from the gym, inside the gym a little bit, but I'm a gun enthusiast. I'm a hunter, fisher. Um, you know, I'm a real person. So my Instagram is Brandon Lilly 3. That's Lilly, the number 3, and that's just an inside peek at just who I am day in and day out. I do almost daily videos on YouTube. Again, Brandon Lilly 3. Um, I try to answer questions. People will send me a lot of questions about the Q method, about general training, to lilytraining@yahoo.com. I try to answer as many of them as I can. You can always go to the www.jtsstrength.com. I have a log that I keep there. Excuse me. I write articles there. You can get the Cube Method, and you can get my other book, 365 Strong, through there. The Cube Method is kind of the basis of the theory of the training. The Cube Method is more of the mental side, the kind of the inner workings of why I do what I do. And then there's also the Cube Kingpin cycle that's inside 365 Strong, which is a variation. It's a little bit more advanced. So I usually recommend that for people after they've run a couple of cycles of the Cube. You can get that in the JTS store, which is Juggernaut Training Systems. And, of course, you can follow me on Facebook. I have a personal page, which I don't do a whole lot there except talk about what movies I'm going to watch and stuff like that. But I then have the athlete page, Brandon Lilly Powerlifter, and I try to keep a lot of stuff up. I talk a lot about my meals that I eat because I do try to eat really well. I post some training videos in there when I do actually film training. I answer questions. I post progress pics and progress updates from my clients. I just had 4 clients that posted almost 100-pound PRs on their total in 10 weeks. So, it's something I'm very proud of. It's always something new popping up. So, if you're just looking for a guy that tries to be honest, keep it real, and puts the information out there, on an almost daily basis in some form or fashion, there will be something new on those platforms at any given time. So, I would like to think that I'm a pretty fun guy to follow because I'm not vanilla. I say what I think and I post what I like, and, that's what I do. So,
Yeah, you're more of the, there's the prim proper stay in the box people out there that
yeah.
are big names or whatever you want to call it within our world, because we know outside of our world we're pretty much nobody's out there. But and then there's people like you or like me that I post up all kinds of weird dumb shit on my Instagram and Facebook. It's more, to me, I like it because it's more real. There's a real person behind this. And with that being said too, with the 365 and the Cube Method, which I didn't mention 365 earlier, so I apologize because I know you have that one. And if you want the whole scientific person and complicated this and that, which I'm guessing if someone's still watching this by now, they're probably not going to be that person. It's most likely, try it. Maybe it'll actually step outside your realm and it'll be good for you. But I know there's a lot of other people, myself especially like you, that just simple, basic, progress, PRs, progress your form, do things simple and basic, not overcomplicated science, like you have to have a PhD to read the fucking thing. That's not for you. If that's what you want, great. There's plenty of other things, but try it because, like I said, might be for you, but I know there's plenty of people out there that are going to want that. They want something simple, go into the gym, do what they need to do, and it's going to get them to where they need. So definitely check it out. I know a lot of people like it out there. And again, I appreciate you taking the time, Brandon. It was awesome.
Oh, dude, I'm very thankful to have come on here. I mean, I know we were all over the spectrum of topics. So, hopefully people get the insight to how I think, who I am, and if they do want to look a little deeper into the Cube method, they go from here, because what you saw here is pretty much what you get in the book, what you get through my media. So
yeah, and that's why it's perfect. We don't have to talk about the whole science and training the whole time, because, like I said, I know there's people that are going to be interested because of what you've done, what you're helping other people do, and off of who you are. And that's what you want. You don't want to be some other person just to sell the damn book. So
exactly.
Perfect. So thanks everybody for checking this out. I'll post all the info below so you guys can follow Brandon. Shoot him questions what you want. Check out the program. And again, I thank you a lot for taking the time, Brandon.
Thank you.
All right, guys, stay tuned for another Feature Friday next week.